lithium deposit in northern Nevada may be the largest in the world. It's located next to the Thacker Pass mine, not far from the Nevada-Oregon border.
The United States Geological Survey, USGS, has just issued a rare and urgent red alert for the McDermitt Caldera, located straddling the border between southeastern Oregon and northern Nevada. This development comes amid a series of increasingly strange and volatile geological movements that have recently been detected within and around the ancient volcanic complex. The issuance of a red alert, a classification typically reserved for imminent or ongoing volcanic eruptions, has sent ripples through the scientific community and raised concerns among residents, researchers, and authorities alike. The McDermitt Caldera, long considered dormant, is now exhibiting behavior that defies expectations and demands immediate attention. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. Stretching roughly 28 miles in length and 22 miles in width, the McDermitt Caldera is a massive volcanic depression formed roughly 16 million years ago during a period of immense volcanic activity across the region. Although its explosive origins lie deep in the Miocene epoch, the area has until now rested quietly in geological terms. In recent years, however, the region has gained prominence for its vast lithium deposits, essential for powering electric vehicles and renewable energy storage. Extensive mining exploration and interest have brought a new wave of activity to this otherwise remote location, but no one anticipated that nature would suddenly remind everyone of the caldera's volcanic past in such a jarring way. The red alert announcement followed the detection of a series of unusual and persistent seismic tremors that began several weeks ago but intensified sharply in the last 72 hours. These tremors, initially subtle and interpreted as background tectonic noise, escalated into rhythmic harmonic tremors, low-frequency earthquakes typically associated with the movement of magma. Alongside this seismic signature, scientists observed rapid ground deformation via satellite-based INSAR interferometric synthetic aperture radar measurements. The caldera floor, previously stable, was now swelling at an alarming rate, with uplift patterns centered near the southern rim of the caldera, where a previously unknown subsurface anomaly had been identified. Geochemical surveys added another disturbing layer to the picture. Sulfur dioxide emissions, virtually non-existent in the region's past measurements, suddenly spiked from several fumarolic vents in the vicinity. These emissions are commonly associated with rising magma and suggest degassing occurring from molten rock nearing the surface. Combined with elevated temperatures in shallow boreholes and increased activity in local hot springs, a troubling portrait emerged. The McDermitt Caldera was waking up. The implications of volcanic reactivation in this area are both scientific and socioeconomic. Geologists have long considered the McDermitt Caldera as part of the broader volcanic tract left behind by the Yellowstone hotspot, which now resides under Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. The reactivation of an old caldera along this path may prompt a fundamental re-examination of the regional geodynamics. Does this mean other calderas in the track, previously believed extinct or deeply dormant, might also harbor latent magmatic systems capable of resurgence? Could this point to a broader trend of tectonic stress and mantle plume re-engagement along the Snake River Plain corridor? Local residents in towns like McDermitt and Orovada have already reported minor but unnerving changes. Some noted strange animal behavior, with deer, coyotes, and birds seemingly abandoning their usual habitats. Water wells, previously reliable, began to exhibit changes in clarity and temperature. There were also multiple reports of a deep rumbling heard at night, a low, resonant sound that seemed to emanate from beneath the ground, not tied to any single quake, but a continuous hum that many described as otherworldly. The economic ramifications are equally complex. The region is poised to become a vital player in the global lithium supply chain, with companies rushing to extract lithium from the extensive clay deposits left behind by ancient lake beds within the caldera. The red alert now casts uncertainty over these operations. Mining companies must consider not only the safety of their workers, but also the structural integrity of their equipment and facilities in the face of possible eruptions. Furthermore, the possibility of magma interacting with lithium-rich clay raises questions about the environmental consequences of such a scenario. Could a hydrothermal or phreatomagmatic eruption release harmful elements into the atmosphere or groundwater? Could mining itself have triggered or exacerbated the awakening of the caldera through deep drilling or alteration of subsurface pressures? Another pressing concern is the status of local infrastructure. While the McDermitt Caldera lies in a sparsely populated region, it is intersected by key transportation routes, including sections of US Route 95. This highway is essential for travel between Nevada and Oregon and serves as a logistical artery for goods moving across the Intermountain West. Any volcanic activity, even minor, could disrupt traffic, isolate communities, and strain emergency response systems in this rural corridor. Emergency management officials are already reviewing evacuation plans and contingency strategies, but the remote nature of the caldera means that resources could be slow to arrive in the event of a full-scale eruption. Adding complexity to the unfolding situation is the fact that McDermitt is not a typical stratovolcano or lava dome, but a caldera, a vast crater left behind by catastrophic explosive eruptions. If magma is indeed returning to the shallow crust beneath this formation, it raises questions about the scale and nature of potential eruptions. Could the caldera unleash a Plinian event, ejecting ash high into the atmosphere and affecting air traffic across the western United States? Or will it result in a series of smaller dome-building eruptions and hydrothermal explosions? The answers remain elusive, but each possibility carries its own set of risks. The global scientific community is now focusing considerable attention on McDermitt. Volcanologists from institutions across the world are collaborating to deploy new monitoring equipment, from high-sensitivity seismometers to mobile gas analyzers and drones equipped with thermal cameras. The priority is to refine models of magma movement and assess the structural integrity of the crust beneath the caldera. Early signs point to a shallow intrusion, a blob of magma that has risen to within a few kilometers of the surface. While this does not guarantee an eruption, it significantly increases the odds and shortens the window for meaningful response. The rarity of such an event also heightens the stakes. While the U.S. hosts several active volcanic regions, a reawakening caldera of this size and age is virtually unprecedented in the country's recent geological history. For decades, the focus of volcanic hazard preparedness has centered around Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, and the Yellowstone caldera. McDermitt, by contrast, was barely on the public radar. This sudden emergence into the spotlight has caught many off guard and underscores the need for broader surveillance of supposedly dormant volcanic systems across the American West. Ecological impacts, too, must be considered. The McDermitt region supports a unique blend of sagebrush steppe, desert wildlands, and high-elevation plateaus. These habitats are home to species like the greater sage-grouse and Lahontan cutthroat trout, both of which are already under pressure from habitat loss and climate change. A volcanic eruption, or even prolonged geothermal changes, could alter hydrological cycles, introduce toxic elements into streams, and disrupt migratory pathways. Long-term environmental monitoring will be essential, even if no eruption ultimately occurs, to understand how subterranean changes affect the surface biosphere. Cultural and historical contexts also add another dimension to the red alert. The region is part of the ancestral lands of the Northern Paiute and Shoshone peoples, whose traditional knowledge includes oral histories of fire mountains and earth-shaking events. Some tribal members have come forward to share stories passed down through generations, tales of smoke rising from the ground, of ash covering the sky, and of days when the earth itself seemed alive. While these stories were once thought metaphorical, they are now being re-examined for potential insights into the caldera's last active phase. Integrating indigenous knowledge with modern geoscience may offer a more holistic understanding of what is unfolding. As satellite data continues to stream in, another anomaly has emerged. A noticeable change in the Earth's magnetic field has been detected above the caldera, subtle but measurable. This could indicate magnetized rock shifting beneath the surface, hinting at the movement of new magma or the heating of older intrusive bodies. The anomalies correspond closely with the uplift zone, and appear to be growing in both intensity and aerial extent. These magnetic signals, often overlooked, can provide critical information about the geometry and composition of subsurface magma chambers, especially in areas with little historical monitoring. Remote sensing has also captured surface fracturing, linear cracks forming across dry lake beds and ridge slopes within the caldera. These fractures, oriented in a radial pattern, suggest pressure from beneath pushing outward and upward. They are not yet large enough to threaten structures, but their rapid development is alarming. Cracks that formed over the span of a few weeks would normally take months or even years in tectonically stable zones. Their presence indicates a dynamic system on the move, with stress redistribution occurring in real time. The red alert has also triggered new levels of coordination among government agencies. The USGS is working closely with the Bureau of Land Management (BLM), the National Weather Service, and the Department of Energy to assess cascading risks. One scenario under consideration is the possibility of an explosive eruption coinciding with a high wind event, an unfortunate but plausible combination that could distribute volcanic ash across hundreds of miles, affecting crops, solar farms, and respiratory health in communities far beyond the caldera's rim. Dust storm patterns in the region already carry fine particulates long distances. Adding ash to that equation would drastically worsen air quality. Public response has ranged from anxious curiosity to outright alarm. Local schools have closed temporarily, and emergency kits are being assembled across the region. Amateur geologists and curious onlookers have begun to arrive near the caldera's perimeter, hoping to witness history in the making. Authorities have issued firm warnings against such activity, emphasizing that the area is not safe and that venturing into potentially unstable zones could result in injury or death. Roadblocks and aerial surveillance are being deployed to discourage unauthorized access. Still, the atmosphere is electric. There is a palpable sense that something monumental is brewing beneath the surface, a once quiet giant stirring from its slumber. The scientific data paints a picture of rising pressure, of shifting rock, of gases and heat finding new paths to the surface. The red alert does not guarantee an eruption, but it confirms that the system is at a critical juncture. The fate of McDermitt now hinges on what happens in the coming days and weeks, whether the magma halts in its upward journey, slowly cooling and solidifying in place, or whether it breaks through the crust in a fiery return to the surface after millions of years of silence. The world is watching. While the initial shock of the USGS red alert for the McDermitt Caldera reverberated through scientific and civilian communities, the situation has evolved into a multidimensional puzzle that geologists, emergency planners, and policymakers are racing to understand. The nature of the signals emerging from deep within the Earth's crust continues to grow more complex, giving rise to further questions about the underlying geological mechanisms and their implications for a region unaccustomed to such volcanic hazards. One particularly intriguing development is the emergence of deep, low-frequency earthquakes, occurring at depths of 20 to 35 kilometers beneath the caldera. These types of quakes, known as deep long-period events, are rarely felt on the surface but are closely watched by volcanologists as potential precursors to significant magmatic movement. Their source lies in the brittle ductile transition zone, where rock begins to deform plastically under high temperature and pressure. The presence of these events suggests that magma may be mobilizing from deep within the Earth's mantle and ascending through the crust, an alarming sign for any volcanic system, let alone one previously considered dormant. Compounding the mystery is the change in geothermal gradients observed across the caldera's periphery. Temporary geothermal wells set up for research and exploration purposes have begun showing sharp temperature increases not attributable to seasonal variation or shallow hydrothermal systems. In some locations, the temperature gradient has risen by as much as 50% over baseline readings taken just a year ago. These changes imply a significant redistribution of subterranean heat, potentially linked to intruding magma or large-scale thermal convection now occurring beneath the caldera floor. In parallel, electromagnetic anomalies have been detected not just in the magnetic field, but also in electrical resistivity readings captured using magnetotelluric MT surveys. These readings show pronounced conductivity changes beneath key regions of the caldera, particularly in zones that have also shown the greatest uplift and seismicity. Conductive anomalies in this context are typically interpreted as the presence of partially molten rock or fluids, which further reinforces the idea of a growing and dynamic magmatic system. These insights are critical for updating hazard models, as they can pinpoint likely paths for future intrusions or surface breakthroughs. An unexpected consequence of this growing geological activity is its influence on regional weather patterns. While not directly linked to the magma itself, the release of volcanic gases, particularly water vapor, carbon dioxide, and sulfur compounds, has the potential to seed local clouds and impact precipitation cycles. Over the past few weeks, meteorologists have noted an unusual increase in convective cloud formation over the caldera region, with localized storm cells appearing more frequently than usual. While this may not yet be cause for alarm, it highlights how interconnected the Earth's surface systems are, and how volcanic activity can influence even atmospheric dynamics. The McDermitt Caldera also poses a unique challenge due to its underlying structure. Unlike symmetrical volcanoes with centralized magma chambers, McDermitt is a sprawling caldera with complex overlapping fault systems and multiple subsurface magma storage zones. This configuration creates a number of possible eruption sites, making forecasting especially difficult. A vent could open in the southern basin, along a ring fault near the central dome, or even in the outer caldera wall where the ground has fractured recently. The uncertainty in vent location dramatically increases the difficulty of planning safe evacuation routes and positioning monitoring stations. Meanwhile, the scientific community has begun examining the role of regional tectonics in what is unfolding. The McDermitt Caldera sits at the nexus of several interacting geological forces, including the Basin and Range Extensional Province and the northwestern edge of the North American Plate. This area is constantly stretching, with faults accommodating slow crustal thinning over millions of years. Some experts now suspect that this regional extension may have opened new pathways for magma ascent, especially if aided by high fluid pressure from hydrothermal systems or even anthropogenic activity such as deep drilling. As investigations intensify, there is also growing concern about the potential for phreatic or phreatomagmatic explosions. These events occur when magma or hot rock comes into contact with groundwater or surface water, leading to rapid steam generation and violent explosions. Given the caldera's history as a lakebed and the presence of aquifers near mining zones, the potential for such explosive interactions cannot be ignored. Unlike magmatic eruptions, phreatic events are often sudden and lack clear warning signs, making them especially hazardous for personnel working in or near the area. The mining industry in particular now finds itself in an unprecedented state of limbo. Several companies have halted operations entirely, not just due to the physical risk, but also the logistical uncertainties. Equipment must be relocated, protective measures instituted, and environmental safeguards reevaluated. There are additional concerns about the stability of tailings dams and other storage facilities in the event of seismic activity or ground rupture. If an eruption were to occur near or within a mining site, toxic materials could be aerosolized or leached into nearby water systems, compounding the disaster. Insurance and liability issues have also surged to the forefront. With a red alert in effect, coverage clauses in many policies are being reassessed, and companies are negotiating with federal agencies over possible compensation mechanisms should operations be interrupted indefinitely. Smaller businesses tied to the region's economic web, such as transportation services, fuel suppliers, and local contractors, are all feeling the pressure as uncertainty ripples through the supply chain. Educational institutions and research centers have begun pivoting to address the sudden need for localized volcanic studies. Temporary field camps, mobile labs, and undergraduate research projects are being redirected to McDermitt. It's a unique opportunity for hands-on learning, but also a sobering reminder of nature's unpredictability. Students and early career scientists are being trained in the midst of a living geological event, something that textbooks alone can never replicate. This influx of academic attention is likely to yield long-term dividends, with data collected now forming the foundation for models that could one day predict volcanic behavior in similar reawakening systems. Amid all this, the need for accurate communication has never been greater. The USGS and other agencies have launched a dedicated portal for real-time updates, hazard maps, and public briefings. Social media is being used as both a tool and a risk vector, with misinformation and fear-mongering posing a challenge for authorities. Clear, concise updates are being issued on a daily basis to ensure that the public stays informed without falling prey to panic or false rumors. Interestingly, the McDermitt Caldera's resurgence has also renewed interest in planetary geology. Comparisons are being drawn between its behavior and calderas observed on Mars and the Moon, especially in terms of ground deformation, gas emissions, and fissure development. These analogs offer valuable clues about how volcanic systems evolve under different gravitational and atmospheric conditions. For planetary scientists, McDermitt has become a natural laboratory offering real-time insight into processes that were previously only inferred from orbital imagery. Back on Earth, the landscape surrounding the caldera is undergoing subtle but significant transformations. Vegetation zones have begun shifting slightly, likely influenced by changes in subsurface heat and gas release. In some low-lying areas, soil desiccation has been reported, while in others, moss and lichen growth has exploded, signs of microclimatic shifts that may portend broader ecological consequences. Wildlife monitoring indicates that species distribution is fluctuating more than normal, with certain animals abandoning their usual grazing territories, possibly in response to inaudible seismic or chemical cues. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on USGS Red Alert at McDermitt Caldera? What's coming? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.